We break down 10 prospects that you should keep an eye on this week for the Shrine Bowl, next on the Unbearable Sports Podcast.
We're going to take the North and never give it back.
So that's a good pick. You get the corner. I got to go bold, right? I got to go bold for this.
Yeah, she's got some nice long
Welcome back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Barron. Make sure to like and subscribe out there on YouTube and rate the show 5 stars everywhere that you get your podcast, especially Apple Podcast. We continue to give away a Darnell Wright jersey. We're getting so close to our goal of 58 5-star reviews. And if you review it 5 stars, then you'll be entered in the giveaway. Link down below in the description. What's going on, guys? This is a big week. We have the Shrine Bowl that's going to be on Thursday, February 1st. And then we have the Senior Bowl on, I believe, Saturday. I don't have it in front of me, but I believe it's on Saturday. And for those that don't know, these are basically NFL All-Star games or NCAA All-Star games where you can really kind of see what everyone looks like going against other prospects. And we know, too, Ryan Poles loves to see who looks good out of the Shrine Bowl and the Senior Bowl, because that's when you start to kind of see the competition and who are the best of the best. So today we're going to be breaking down different people to watch out for on the east side and the west side, but really kind of go defense first and then offense. So I'll give you kind of my top 10 with some of these players. One other piece that I do want to mention is that the Senior Bowl, when we cover that, there's a lot higher round prospects that we're going to be covering with this. These are kind of more that day 2, day 3 types of prospects, those diamonds in the rough. But let's get started, shall we? So the first prospect that I want to talk, let's talk some defense. Let's talk some pass rushers. So the biggest name that's going to be here is playing for the east side. And this is Leonard Taylor III. He's projected to kind of go in the first, like late first, early second round. And also, he is the defensive tackle 2, according to the consensus big board, and the number 37th player overall. And to me, he's also my defensive tackle 2. I think he can definitely move around the more that I watch some of the tape. But Leonard Taylor is one of these. He reminds me of Gervon Dexter coming out a little bit, where you know that he's got all this athleticism, but it's that technique. And hey, we just got a defensive coordinator that can teach technique, and I think that this might be a good spot and someone that the Bears are going to be looking out for, because, you know, if you look at his PFF grade last year, 74.7, which was 143rd, but you look at the athleticism, and I think that's what a lot of teams are really kind of falling in love with. He's also only a sophomore, 6'3", 305. So when I saw him, very, very lean, like very muscular build for a defensive tackle that could turn into a very good 3 technique. So a little bit about him: 20 tackles, 1 sack, and 17 hurries. The numbers don't jump off. Like I said, technique not necessarily there. It's more of the athleticism. And that's why, too, in these kind of all-star games, it might be good to see how does he go against other good players that are going to be drafted, because that could be a good distinguishing factor. If he does not look good, I could see Leonard Taylor dropping to the 3rd round because, hey, you're just trying to take an upside on the athleticism. When you look at the advanced metrics, 14.7% pass rush win rate and 6.6 run win rate. So not fantastic, but just solid. Now, even though that I comp him to Gervon Dexter, the big difference is he has first step quickness. And Leonard Taylor really has that pop. That's where some people say Christian Barmore is what they remind him of. But to me, I wanted to go with the Bear comp and go with Gervon Dexter because it's the same conversation that we had before. But this is someone that can tackle very well. He can wrap up. And also last year, he played, even though that I see him more of a 3 tech, and he had his best season when he was a 3 tech. Last year, he actually was playing more the A gap, so more that 1 technique, trying to take on 2 blocks at a time, and it just really wasn't his forte. He's not, like we said, he's not this gigantic mauler. He's more of the speed and 3 technique that you would want to see. So maybe it's a situation similar to Gervon Dexter, where Gervon Dexter never played in an attacking scheme. With Leonard Taylor, he was looking good when he was playing the 3 technique, but when he had to play more of that one tech, it just wasn't his natural position. So overall, though, he needs to develop pass rush moves, and he also has some high pad level, yet again, reminiscent of a one Gervon Dexter. So I think that he's someone that the Bears could really, really like out there. Yet again, he is playing for the East team, so someone to definitely keep a lookout for. So that's one. Let's keep on going down the list, shall we? Next one, oh man, I'm going to butcher this name, but Zion Tupuola-Fetui. I'm not good with pronunciation, so I'm sorry for his family if I butchered that name. But defensive end out of Washington, he is playing for the West team, 6'4", 254, a senior for Washington. And this is the 135th person on the consensus big board, edge 15. I really don't have a comparison. I couldn't really think of a comparison right now since I don't have my complete big board. Some of these players that go day 3, because that's where he's projected. He's projected to go round 4. I don't necessarily have all the where I have them on my board officially as of yet. But last year, PFF grade of 65.3, 506 overall, which not fantastic if we're being honest here, but yet again, just a grade. Now, why is he someone to at least look out for? First off, he's projected in round 4, so more of a late round defensive end. And really, his big strength is he's just an all-around solid player. Everything that he does, he's just very solid at. But the thing that I just didn't love is in his highlights. When you watch his highlight film and you Google his highlight film, very, very good burst. And he jumps off the line and just kind of smacks the tackle, makes a big play. But then when you watch the tape, I just didn't see a lot of consistent high-end play out of him. And that's why you see him dropping to the 4th round. Because last year, 39 tackles, 3.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 18 hurries, with an 8.7 pass rush win rate, which is not good, and a 3.7 run stop percentage, not fantastic. 6-year starter, season high was 7 sacks in 2020, and that's what really put him on the map. Overall, I'm not super high on him, but that's why I wanted to at least throw him out there, because he's a round 4 person, and having a good game could really raise his draft stock, because this is a guy that's been playing for 6 years with Washington, opposite of Braylon Trice. He needs to at least show something, but he's definitely someone to look out for. But now let's go to another pass rusher, and this is someone who's very interesting. Mohamad Kamara, redshirt senior, 6'1", 250 out of Colorado State. This guy reminds me of Jose Ramirez coming out last year. And for those that aren't huge draft fans, Jose Ramirez was this person out of Eastern Michigan, so smaller school, and had crazy production. Mohamed Kamara, he's the number 126 on the consensus big board, edge 13 overall, and he's projected to go in the early day 3, 85.9 grade, which was 27th for PFF. But he also, too, he plays for the East team on the defense. And when you look at him, last year, 56 tackles, 13 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 38 hurries, crazy good statistics. High motor, always running hot, 19.4% pass rush win rate, 5.1% run stop. And when I'm watching this guy, it reminds me of Jose Ramirez. This guy is just a bull. Like, he's just trying to attack the guy in front of him and always getting to the ball. He also has a very good speed, very, very good speed at the position. So he's constantly running, constantly just trying to bring people down. Now, something that I don't necessarily love, though, he's small. He's only 6'1", and it scares me because I don't see a lot of bend to his game. So when he's bending around the corner as a defensive end, he still stands very upright. And for only being 6'1", you would like to see a lot more bend so that he can leverage his smaller frame to his advantage. Now, a small power rusher with no bend, that's something that does scare me, and that's why I want to watch him really intently to say, hey, what are you going to do against these upper echelon, actual people that will be in the NFL and kind of have a higher tick of competition for him to be going against. But that's about the pass rushers for right now, and we've already gone through 3. Now let's go over to the offensive side because there's a lot of people on the offensive side of the ball that I want to break down. And let's start with who might be the best running back in this draft. And that is Jonathon Brooks, running back out of Texas, the sophomore, 6', 207. Now, someone might say, well, hey, are you going to be, is he going to be playing? Because he tore his ACL in November. He will be at the Shrine game, but he will not play at the Shrine game. It reminds me of a certain running back out of Texas that the Bears drafted last year who did not play in the Senior Bowl, but was someone there that was taking interviews and answering questions about his injury. Jonathon Brooks, though, he's phenomenal. A consensus overall is 66 overall. Running back 3, to me, right now, he's running back 1. Projected in the 3rd round, reminds me of Aaron Jones, and PFF grade 91.4 grade, which is 9th overall. And to me, why he reminds me of Aaron Jones. This guy just produces. He has this incredible contact balance. He can catch out the backfield. He can do it all. Just like an Aaron Jones, unfortunately, from the Green Bay Packers. And when you see him run, he really just kind of finds the holes and he just glides through, and then arm tackles just shed right off of him. Last year, he had 1,135 yards, 6.1 yards per carry, 10 touchdowns, 65 receptions for 286 yards. He had a 140.3 elusive rating, which is insanely high, and 3.91 yards after contact. So a very, very good running back. Now, like I mentioned before, he got injured. That's the big question mark, because this was his first year as a starter because Roschon Johnson and Bijan Robinson were no longer there. So he only has this very small sample size, and watching him, you're like, this guy's freaking good. And he didn't even finish an entire season. So you have a very small sample size. But when he was there, this guy is good. Anybody trying to take an arm tackle on him, he just blew right by. Like I mentioned before, good receiver, can do it all. Now, the only thing that's very negative on him besides that sample size is that I don't necessarily see any elite traits out of his game. And that's why you're not seeing him as a first round guy or a second round guy. He's more that third round player where he should be good. He's probably not going to be the best running back in the league, similar to like an Aaron Jones, but be a capable back in the NFL. Yet again, he's not going to be playing at the Shrine game, but definitely want to listen to what do people say about him at those practices, and are there any concerns about him? Also, who's talking with him? So he's probably going to show up a couple times in some headlines, but something to be on the lookout for. But now, let's talk about the wide receiver position, the wide receivers, the tight ends, because there might be Tank Dell 2.0 out here. Now, Tank Dell played in the Senior Bowl, but the next person, and this guy reminds me of Tank Dell. Now, I think Tank Dell was a more dynamic athlete coming out and more dominant, but this person is pretty darn close. That's Malik Washington, wide receiver out of Virginia. Redshirt senior, 5'8", 194. Now, some of you might say, well, I know Malik Washington. That's probably because he played at Northwestern for 4 years and then transferred over to Virginia. And then that's when he had his breakout season, 110 receptions, 1,426 yards, and 9 touchdowns. 2.6% drop rate, which is very good. 64.7 contested catch rate, which is also very good. This guy's got good hands. No matter how you slice it, this guy can catch the football. Consensus board, number 132, wide receiver 22. My rank is wide receiver 21, so I'm right around there with the consensus. And he's projected to go in day 3. So you don't have to take this huge swing. This is a smaller wide receiver, definitely a slot weapon, a slot wide receiver at the next level. And also weapon might sound bad, but I do think that he can play the receiver because he has some pretty good route running skills. Very sound, fundamental wide receiver. Now, what's the bad part? Also, PFF grade 91.1, which was 3rd overall. His biggest strength, though, to me, is his football IQ. You see the way that he moves in and out of routes, and it seems like he understands those holes in the coverage. He'll find the opening, and then he'll just sit in coverage, and he'll be wide open. He understands those coverages, and it might be because he's been playing for 5 years. Very smart wide receiver, just small, but he's got good hands. And his biggest weakness and why he's kind of so far down is he really is just a one-year wonder. And to me, too, when I'm watching him, he doesn't have the absolute high-end ankle-breaking plays that Tank Dell has, but he still has a pretty fun highlight film to watch. So Malik Washington is someone that the Bears could take in very late in some of these drafts, and I think that he has a lot of good talent that you can try out. But now, let's talk tight ends, because we have not talked about tight ends. Bears need depth at the tight end position. And this guy, Jonathon Sanders, Texas tight end, junior, 6'4", 243. He's the number 52 number 52 player in the draft, and tight end 2 for myself as well. He's projected to go day 2. And to me, it reminds me of Darren Waller. PFF grade 75.4, which is 21st. And really, when you look at his stats, 45 receptions last year, 282 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0% drops, 53.8% contested catch, and 61.5 run block grade. What that shows is that he's a good player. He can catch well. Very, very reliable hands. It's similar to like a Darren Waller. Anywhere he goes, he's going to bring down the ball. And that's why he's projected to go day 2. Now, why is he more of a day 2 rather than like a day 1? Well, even though that he's similar to like a Darren Waller, he doesn't necessarily have the top elite athleticism to run by defenders and that top end speed. Yes, he is a tight end, but you'd like to see him a touch faster. I think that the combine is going to be big for him, because if he can show, hey, you know what? The tape might say this, but look, I can run a 4.5, a 4.6, a pretty fast 40 time. That's going to soar him up draft boards, but he's a very good player that I think should be able to really impress at the Shrine Bowl. Also, totally forgot to tell you what teams everybody's been on. Jonathon Brooks is on the West, Jonathon Sanders on the West, Malik Washington on the West as well, and also Mohamad Kamara on the East. But let's continue going, though. Like I said, good hands, crisp routes, not a great athlete, and then also can struggle with blocking. But the only other piece that I want to mention is usually people will say, well, that means he probably played a lot in the slot. Actually incorrect. 276 snaps last year in line as the inline tight end, and only 90 snaps in the slot. So definitely plays more the inline, even though his ability screams more of like a slot weapon. But let's continue on to the next tight end that I have, because there's another person. This guy is impressive. This guy, to me, turned my head when I was watching him. That's Dallin Holker, Colorado State junior tight end, 6'5", 235. And my God, this guy has some incredible catches. And also, I forgot to update his comp, but he's the number 154 player on the consensus big board, tight end 6. And to me, he's also tight end 6 as well, projected to go in round 4. His PFF grade, 68.4, which was 70th. But I'll tell you, this guy can catch the ball like none other. He reminds me a little bit of the tight end, Mike Gesicki, where Gesicki just had these crazy, insane catches. That's what Dallin Holker has on his tape. 64 receptions, 766 yards, 6 touchdowns, only a 5.9% drop rate, 50% contested catch, and a 57.5 run block grade. You probably could have heard it. He's not a good blocker. 267 slot snaps and 142 inline snaps. This guy is a slot weapon. This guy is a big receiver. And that's where, to me, he's more that big slot tight end at the next level. But my God, this guy can catch. This guy can break tackles. And he was a transfer from BYU, so he is a little bit older, and maybe that has to do with his absolute dominance on the receiving end. But basically, if the Bears are looking for a good jump ball tight end, a good receiving tight end, Holker is someone that you can target in the 4th round, and I feel he's going to really impress some people at the Shrine Bowl and probably make a couple highlight reel catches out there. He's a very good receiver. But let's go over to the last 3. And also, too, Holker is on the East. So let's talk about offensive line, because the Bears do need some offensive linemen. There are a lot of offensive linemen that are projected to go a little bit later on in the draft, a lot of round 4 types of tackles. But one that I really wanted to highlight is Matt Goncalves, or Goncalves. Yet again, butchering the name, but Pittsburgh offensive tackle and redshirt senior, 6'6", 330. So he's got this size. He's got the speed. He's the tight end 13 on the consensus big board, 115 overall, projected to go in the 4th round or late 3rd. He's really a swing tackle. He's played both left and right sides, and in 2022, a 71.9 grade. And a lot of the overall PFF grades, you kind of have to throw it out from last season because he only played 3 games, and then he had an undisclosed injury that caused him to miss the rest of the season. So the Shrine Bowl is going to be huge for him because what was that injury? Why wasn't it disclosed? How can you come back from that injury and play? What type of a player are we getting? Because if he balls out during the Shrine Bowl, I think that this guy starts going more as a round 3 type of player. He's a good swing tackle, and he's got the size you want, 6'6", 330. And he's got incredible burst, stays low when he's in his stance, and when someone tries to bull rush him, very, very good. Long legs, can easily get out of his stance, kind of easily mirror the offensive or the defensive lineman. Very good player, or has all kind of the traits you want in an offensive lineman. But that injury does scare a lot of people. The only negatives that I will say, obviously the injury. He was never really like an elite player. He's more of an elite, a very good prospect. But also, too, the Bears run more zones, and we know that Shane Waldron wants to run more of a zone scheme. He is more of a gap scheme tackle. And also, too, his pass protection needs a little bit of work. And that's him, but definitely look out for him. He's from Pitt, and also he plays for the West team. So definitely see, he might be on the left side, might be on the right side. I could definitely see the Bears wanting to get someone to replace Larry Borom. But let's go to the next player down at offensive guard, Christian Mahogany. Boston College projected to go early round 4, number 8 for interior offensive lineman. This guy, big-bodied right guard, and this guy just a wall. Reminds me of Jason Taylor just with his pure size, where I remember seeing, Jason Peters. When I saw him live and in person, this guy was just a wall, and that's exactly what Christian Mahogany looks like. Just a wall with arms and legs, and as you could probably imagine, this wall has very strong hands, very wide frame, can just easily pop people right in the face, and he's got great burst. Reminds me a little bit of Tevin Jenkins, and last year, 74.5 overall run grade, and then in the pass grade, 81.2 overall grade, allowed 7 hurries, but no sacks and no hits all season. So very athletic, and I think that's going to be his calling card. Very large, very wide, very athletic, and has good burst. But really, when I was watching him block, I didn't really love what I was seeing out there. Didn't really wow me with anything. Didn't seem to be making gigantic contributions. But it wasn't like it was bad. You see the attributes. You see the potential. I think he just needs a good coach. Also, too, very upright at the position, so stands very tall. He is only 6'3", which is relatively short for an offensive lineman, but also, too, he kind of extends over his feet, which is just, yet again, the guy just needs a lot of coaching, but he's another person that you fall in love with the potential rather than what he's necessarily put on tape, because he's a wall with legs. But let's go to the last person that I'm putting as Tyson Bagent upgrade. If the Bears need or want a new backup quarterback, this guy to me is someone to at least look for, because whether it's Justin Fields or Caleb Williams, if the Bears go with the quarterback, they're going to have some sort of mobility. And this person is one of the big dual threats in college football. That's quarterback out of Florida State, Jordan Travis. Redshirt senior, 6'1", 212. Round 4 is where he's projected to. Round 4, round 5 is where he's projected to go. He's going to play for the East team. Definitely will be fun to watch. I don't know if he's actually going to play because of his injury. He might just be answering some questions, but definitely watch out for him. The comparison, in my opinion, is Colt McCoy, because just like Colt McCoy doesn't have the adequate size or necessarily the arm strength, but this is someone who has had continued success throughout college and is a good dual threat quarterback. And overall, he is QB 10. For me, I just haven't completed the complete rankings yet. But when you look at his stats, 2,755 passing yards last season, 20 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, 2.1% turnover-worthy play rate, which is very good, 20th highest in all of the NCAA. But like we said, dual threat quarterback, that's really his claim to fame, can really run very well, but also, even though that he's a dual threat quarterback, he has some pretty surprising poise in the pocket, I would say, and also can get the ball out on time. Now, part of this is because FSU ran a very simple system when I was watching the entire game. We've talked about how Bo Nix had a simple system. Travis's was even simpler. I didn't really see him throw it downfield too much, but that's also part of it, is that I don't think he has adequate arm strength to throw it past 15 yards, because every time that he was trying to put some velocity on it, you could really tell he was really putting everything into it. And I saw one scout say he really tries to throw to a spot rather than just kind of throwing naturally. He's very, it seems like when he has to put any strength to it, it's a little difficult for him. So overall, though, also lacks kind of that next level awareness, just someone that could go in that day 3 range, that could be a solid backup to at least take a flyer on. Yet again, when someone has success at the college level, it is definitely someone to keep an eye out for. So that's 10, top 10, and just a hair under 30 minutes. I hope you end up watching the game and let me know who you are excited to watch out for. And is there anyone that I talked about that you absolutely love? Let me know down in the comments. But make sure to like and subscribe and to ring that bell. This week, we are going to be breaking down my favorite players out of the Senior Bowl. But with that, Unbearable Sports Podcast, we are out.
Yeah, she's got some nice long hair and